It has been many weekends and late nights, and finally our supercharged Mini is ready for the dyno. Our little Mini is alive, and today's the day we see if it all works. Doing the honours as our tow vehicle is Marty's 11-second wagon, Supergramps, proving that you can smash out some awesome quarter-mile times and then also tow a Mini when you've got an ever-practical Subaru.
So we have arrived at this incredibly exciting and frightening part of our build. We are down here at Haltech. The Mini is on the dyno. We're going to be doing a couple of tunes. We're going to be doing a 98 tune, of course. We've also got, just over there, we've got a can full of E85. It's been such a huge amount of work. It's been way, way more than I expected. Luckily, we got all these legends helping me, Marty and Dose Vader, and today Tuning Fork as well. Here it is. It is a thing of beauty, as you can see. Isn't it a wonderful thing of beauty? I'm talking about you, Tuning Fork. A thing of beauty. There he is. And then there's the engine as well, which is also awesome. There's just so much work, but you know what? It just represents a whole lot of time, mates hanging out, learning stuff, which is what this Mini was all about. And I just can't wait to drive it, because again, this car was never meant to be a dyno queen. It is a road experience car, taking me back to my youth. It's very cool. I'm a little tense though, because it is an unknown. As far as we know, this is the first supercharged classic Mini running on E85 in the world. From what we've researched and looked around, we haven't heard of any others. So it's pretty exciting and frightening, but it's going to be good.
We know that the Mini starts, but other than that, it's basically untested, and there is some nervous tension in the room because this is not your run-of-the-mill build. And while we want to see a good increase in power, we also don't want to blow anything up. Yep, I'm feeling pretty anxious about it, to be honest. Okay, I'm feeling very anxious because of the uniqueness of it. There's some extra considerations that we need to take into account while we're tuning it.
Because of the style of engine this is, we're going to have to tune it a little bit differently to just about every other engine made, because it's called a Siamese port engine, which means that a couple of cylinders share inlet ports and a couple of cylinders share exhaust ports. So what happens is, because of the firing order of the engine, you've got the engine's pulling air in, but it pulls it out of one port at a time. So we need to make sure that there's heaps of fuel there all the time, so that the Siamese port, the effect of it, isn't going to lean out every second cylinder.
Tuning Fork, the other thing is, obviously there's a couple of ways that you can get fuel into the system, and we have our injectors before the supercharger. Is that going to affect anything with your tuning?
Yeah, it is. This is the way that this is set up. Is normal, like throttle body injection is normally what it's known as. Sequential or port injection is when each injector is mounted at the inlet valve. So it's in the inlet manifold, sprays right before the inlet valve in a conventional motor. With this, with our throttle body style injection, we've got our throttle body is just here, but then all of the fuel's getting delivered before the supercharger. It all gets mixed up in the supercharger, which it actually lubricates it and it cools it down a little bit.
Yep.
Then it goes into the motor. So it's really important, the manifold design below there, because we've got no control over trimming each injector individually, because it's all just getting mixed up and just getting pushed in there wherever it wants to go.
Running E85 is obviously going to cool this down, as well as the system that we've got to keep it cool. Running E85 is going to make this run colder than if we were just running 98.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason for that is we've got our air temp sensor here, which measures our air temperature going in. Once it's gone with your injectors through the supercharger, just before it hits the inlet valve, we call it the charge air. So charge air is a mixture of the air temp going in. The relationship between air temp and coolant temp takes a role, because as the air goes in, if the engine's boiling hot, the charge air is going to be hotter. If the engine's cold, charge air is going to be colder. Likewise, when we put the ethanol through, you do get a cooling effect from so much extra fuel going through, as well as the E85 sort of vaporizing, I guess.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tuning Fork.
Thanks very much, yeah.
Okay, we're getting ready for our first run, which will be a 98 tune. We're running the car just to make sure that nothing is leaking and that our belt system is okay. Once we've ensured that everything is all good, then we're going for a power run. Okay, let's do this.
So Tuning Fork has put on a usable tune on the dyno when the car is running on 98. So we're just going to take it for a quick little drive around the street and make sure that actually works. One of those things, first time starting and using a car, we've also noticed that our fuel regulator sits too high and the hoses coming out of it are fouling on the bonnet. So we can close the bonnet, but it's possibly cutting through stuff that we don't want to cut through. So to go around the block, we're basically just going to kind of clip it on and then get some cable ties and hold that down and then get a different fuel reg tomorrow. Really our focus is going to be on the E85 tune, but this is just to make sure that if there is no E85 available, you can still go and get normal pump fuel and get your car around, because otherwise if your car's E85 only, you're stuck on the side of the road, which is useless. So we're just going to make sure this 98 tune actually works on the road, then we're going to come back and do the good stuff, which is the E85 tune.
I normally start left just to build up a bit of confidence, you know? Yeah. If it doesn't make it down the end, yeah.
First drive, Supercharged Mini. Yeah, awesome, man. It's working.
The belt didn't flick off, everything sounds pretty good at the moment.
No.
Our 98 tune is successful, so we can head back to the workshop and then drain out all of the 98 octane fuel. Then we can fill the Mini up with sweet, sweet ethanol. We're also checking up on our supercharger cooling system that's using a PC fan, and it is running like a dream. With all of the 98 gone, it's time to fill up with E85. All was going well, but now there's this really weird sound coming out of our fuel tank.
It's a weird noise, isn't it?
Our screaming fuel tank seems to have stopped, and the Mini is now officially running on ethanol for the first time. We're loading the Mini back on the dyno, and this is where we're hoping to see some solid gains in performance and torque, and our time will be spent optimising this tune. The great thing about running the Haltech and Flex fuel sensor is that we'll be able to run 98 and E85, or any combination of the two, as the ECU will constantly monitor the mixtures and adjust the tune according to the ratio of what is in the tank. It's been a big day and night has fallen over the workshop, so let's do this. After a few power runs, Tuning Fork gives us the verdict.
It's a 50% increase in power.
Yeah, 20 is massive, and the ethanol's taken up that bit, so the effort that it's taking you to push the supercharger when you're cruising around is offset by the ethanol.
Wow.
So it's already a winner for sure. And
Are you happy?
Nice. I'm really happy. I think we can probably, it needs a pump, fuel pump, regulator, and then we can probably push it a little bit further, I would say.
But it's not all good news. One issue is that we're running way too much boost, and unlike turbos, we can't adjust that easily. We've also got a feeling that the factory exhaust pipe is holding us back, and added to this, we've got fueling issues, which means we need a new pump and regulator, and all of this at 3 AM.
It's the middle of the night now, we can't actually get any of these things now, so we're gonna make a call, get some things organised, probably gonna be fuel tank out, maybe a couple of hours of work, and then get it back on the dyno and see how we go.
The next morning, we were meant to be back at Haltech for our final dyno run, but we're taking a detour. we're pretty sure the factory exhaust components are causing a restriction, so we're just going to get rid of them completely and replace the whole thing with a full stainless steel performance system.
This is the old system here, so this was 1 3/4 inches, and we're changing that system to a 2.5 inch full stainless steel system done with like proper MAD components and stuff. So basically we've got our new flex joint up here, flange here, look at this. This is all done by Chris down here at Castle Hill Performance. Where is he? He's hiding, there he is, over there. Just welding things up like a boss. From here we've got our high flow catalytic converter, O2 sensor hanging out there. From there we've got our MAD hot dog, and everyone loves throwing a hot dog in their buns every now and then. From that we've got a stainless steel muffler, which is here. This is like so much lighter than what was on there before, just a proper MAD performance muffler. And then from there, we're going to replicate the angles, and then at the very end, a 2.5 inch pipe hanging out, not hanging out too far because that just kind of looks weird. We'll work out the angle when we get there. And that is going to be our fully custom stainless steel performance mini system. It's going to be MAD. In fact, the other option was possibly Bozo pipes in stereo. What do you reckon, Marty? Just out the back, split, and 2 Bozo pipes right up the back.
Well, your mini is JDM after all.
Would you be into that or not?
I'd be into it as a temporary thing.
I reckon that would be awesome.
For about 5 minutes, and that's
okay, yeah, Bozo Mini, it's going to be awesome. What a boss.
Even though I hadn't originally planned on installing a full exhaust system, I've got to say it does feel really good to know that it's been done properly. This is a car that I'm going to be keeping forever, and there's been so much time and effort put into this Mini Cooper to make sure that it runs right, and I don't want it held back by a couple of factory exhaust components when we're right near the end of this project and it's such a relatively easy thing to change. The next thing to do is position the exhaust tip exactly where I want it, which means deleting the factory hanger and adding our own, which will then attach to our new system. And that's it. The Mini now has a proper 2.5 inch exhaust system all the way back, through a performance cat, hot dog resonator, and finishing off with a stainless steel performance muffler. And the boys smashed this out for us in just a morning. With that done, we can bring the car down and see what it sounds like.
It's not like loud or drony or anything in here. It's great. It's quite refined actually. Really happy with that, that's awesome.
With our exhaust system done, now we've got to fix our next problem: too much boost. We're dragging the Mini over to see our friends at GFB. They make blow-off valves, wastegates, boost controllers, short shift kits, pulley kits, and today they're going to make me a custom supercharger pulley, which is going to get our boost into a much safer level. Jono has whipped up this design on his screen, and then using a blank piece of metal, the design is entered into a CNC machine, which is then going to nibble out my perfect new supercharger pulley. In just a few minutes, and starting with this blank, the machine has spat out a perfect pulley, all ready to install on my Mini.
Unlike turbochargers where you've got wastegate and you can kind of bleed off, and so you've got adjustment of how much boost pressure you're running, with superchargers you can't do that. So you have to kind of decide how much boost you're going to be running, and that's based on the physicalities of the size of your pulley. Now, this here was the pulley that came with the kit, which was made over in the UK. It's running too much boost, which means we need a bigger pulley. Now, luckily, we're down here with our mate Jono from GFB. Hello, Jono.
G'day.
Mate, tell me what you've done here and how we're gonna fix this Mini.
We've obviously worked out that the diameter of this pulley is too small, creating too much boost. So what we've done, we've calculated based on what boost this was creating for you guys.
Which was running about 15 PSI, is that right?
So base this pulley on 15 PSI. We have made a range of different size pulleys, which are larger, which should give you an adjustment between 8 and 10 PSI. there's a bit of a misconception that double the size of the pulley will give you half the amount of boost. It's not
That's
actually
not relative that way, is
It's
it?
not actually right, because what happens, you've got to base it above absolute zero pressure. And so what happens is this might be making 15 psi, but that's really approximately 30 psi of absolute pressure. So you use that as your benchmark. Use that as your benchmark, and then we've got to base it on that. So if that is your 30 psi of absolute pressure, we have to basically use a ratio and a certain ratio formula to create what we wanted to achieve, which, as you said, was around 10 psi.
So all we've got to do now is actually see if this fits with our current belt system.
Yep.
If we need more belt, we can't buy that in Australia, so we're screwed. Or we try and adjust the factory tensioner and see if we've got enough adjustment to fit this with the current belt that we have.
Yeah.
You can see the size of the original pulley on top compared to the larger ones that we've made. Our next step is to loosen off the factory tensioner and hope that we've got enough adjustment so that we don't need to buy another belt, because the size we need is impossible to get. Our new pulley is a perfect fit and our belt is on with ample adjustment still available. This is freaking amazing. The grill goes back on, and now it's time to head back to Haltech so that we can fix our fueling issues.
The legends from Aeroflow have just dropped us off a new fuel pump. Now, we're not specifically changing the fuel pump so that we can get more fuel, even though that may be something that we need. It's more just about reliability, and we're not sure of the condition that the one that is in there. So we're going to put this in, which means fuel tank out, fuel out, put this in, and then we can run the car again, and then we're going to make sure that there's enough pressure to get through that reg and give us some mad choo-choo powers.
So that's a very similar style to what you see in cars everywhere, right?
Yeah, most cars have a pump that looks very similar to that these days.
And so we're going to pull out our fuel tank, and we're going to drop that in, make it fit.
Yep.
We should be able to put like the filter on there and everything, and jam the line on the top, run some power to it.
Yep.
Is that it?
Happy days, yeah. Well, obviously we're doing this because after a little bit of time yesterday, we found that we were running out of fuel delivery. So we want to make sure that we're not going to do any damage to the motor and make sure that we're keeping the fuel up to it. So we don't know the condition of the pump that's in the tank now, so let's just replace it with a good quality pump.
Yeah, because it's brand new.
It's brand new.
However, 15 years old, something like that.
Yep.
And also the fact that E85 needs more fuel volume.
It does.
So we're going to pump way more fuel up to it. So you might as well get something that's a bit of an upgrade.
Yep.
And be
Yeah,
safe.
so it's safety, but yeah, it's an upgrade at the same time. So
It also means as well, which I think is a good point, is that we know what's in there. Because at the moment, that's just a total unknown. And so far, we've been able to have control over how we're supercharging, how we're fueling, how we're tuning, and that's like one area that we just is a complete like black hole, isn't it?
that's right. Yeah.
Get pumped.
Get pumped.
Get pumped.
Time to pull out the fuel tank and throw in our mad new fuel pump. fuel pump has been replaced, and luckily we were able to do it without having to drain the tank. Our new fuel pump and fuel pressure regulator have been installed, so now we're ready for a couple of power runs. We're inspecting the spark plugs and making an adjustment to the fuel pressure regulator, and now we're all set for our final power run. There is applause from inside the car and a very happy Miles. I'd tell you how much power it made, but I have no idea. What I do know is that there are a lot of smiling faces and a lot of cheering going on in the workshop.
Martin, lay it on me.
All I'm going to say is it's got a similar power output to what the Blue Turd had, and that felt fast, same size engine.
Yes.
And it was a lot heavier, like a good 200 kilos heavier.
So what's the number, Martin? What's our decrease or increase in power?
As a percentage, I think you're around 54% power increase.
Wow,
What you had before.
54%?
Yeah. Yeah, that's forced induction and ethanol. It's awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because if you had like a Sylvia, right, and you put in like a boost controller or front mount exhaust, you wouldn't get that big of a
Yeah.
percentage.
Well, it's going from 200 to 300 kilowatts.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that in a little car that weighs around 600 kilos.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, very cool.
Thanks so much for following us on this series, of course. Thank you to Miles, aka Dose Vader, from AM Auto Services. Thank you to, is he still in there?
He's going to
Give us
unfold
a wave
himself.
back there. Oh, thank you. There he is.
He's stuck.
That's Tuning Fork back there. Thank you, of course, for following this mad series. I love it. We're going to get it down, and maybe I'm going to take it for a drive.
Maybe you should do a video of taking it for a drive.
Shall I do that?
With people.
All right, let's do that. Next video, driving the Mini for the first time. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, you can follow us on the Face of Balls, facebook.com/Mighty Car Mods. See you next time. Mini Madness.
How good is it?